Christy, thank you so much for taking time to connect with us today. It's great to be with you.
I am so happy to be with you. Thank you for having me here, David.
Yeah. So if somebody's listening today and they're feeling like they are lacking something, lacking finances, lacking health, lacking relationships, lacking love, lacking time, like a lot of us, what advice or encouragement would you give them?
Well, I'd say this, because if they're lacking and if their perspective is in on lack, then they're not feeling good, because lack always feels bad. Whenever we're focused on what we don't have or we don't have enough of, we feel bad. It's a human thing, right? If we notice something's missing that we want, we feel bad. So in that feeling bad, the first thing to understand is that there are basically three separate states of being. And one of them is the consciousness of lack, or the awareness that I do not have something, and that makes us feel bad. So lack always feels bad. The second bucket, if you will, or second way of being is contentment. It goes along with one of the laws that I talk about, which is the law of sufficiency and abundance. So this bucket is kind of the peace, the I'm okay, the compassion, contentment, fulfillment. You're not like, wow, crazy over the top excited. You're not there yet, but at least you're not feeling bad. And there's just that slight vibrational variance between kind of like bored and I'm okay. And so if you can allow yourself to find neutrality with the energy of compassion, I'm not feeling good, so I'm letting myself not feel sorry for myself. That's in the lack pile. Compassion feels soothing. It feels reassuring. It feels like, okay, I'm all right, right? That starts a whole different vibrational segment, which then leads to, it's like the door opening for the abundance, door opening for the other third aspect, which is where all the good, joy, passion, excitement, fun, freedom, all the things that we want to be feeling, all the pleasures of life, right? So if someone is already in lack, the first thing I would say is just let yourself just feel the soothing. Soothing compassion feels like someone offering you a warm blanket when you're cold, right? Or a nice warm cup of something to drink when you're cold. Or like getting into your bed and you're like, like that level of soothing. There's a thought that we are either observing something and then we're judging it to be bad. Oh, this is bad. Oh no, I don't have enough, right? And then it goes into more of a criticism of ourselves. What's wrong with me? How come I can't seem to find love? I'm so bad at love. Or I just can't seem to manage my money. How come I'm always in deficit of money, right? So those thoughts and the consciousness that creates those thoughts, we need to start tuning those thoughts into more neutrality, which is compassion. It's okay. I'm fine with money. Right? And then that's what we need to start. Once you get into that neutrality, you're no longer feeling bad. You're feeling, okay, I'm all right. Now we can find a better feeling thought, as our friends Abraham Hicks talk about, right? Finding a thought that feels better, finding a thought that feels more empowering, finding a thought that, well, it is this way, but it's soon going to shift. Soon I'm going to feel this, right? Soon I'm going to experience this. So it's getting into a different mentality. And that's what my work has been, for the past 25 years, helping people move from lack and move into abundance.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I was like, oh, this is next best feeling thought. I wanted to jump in there. You got it before I did, And it's like, okay, I'm not moving from lack all the way over to abundance, just one step at a time. If I could just get to neutrality, I'll even feel so much better. I'll have even just a better chance at moving toward abundance. Take us back to your own story of awakening to consciousness, mindfulness, spirituality. Did you grow up in a home that had some sort of faith or spirituality?
Well, I was raised just middle-class family, Scottsdale, Arizona, and, I'm Italian-American, and we were all very Catholic, and we would go to church every Sunday. And I would have moments through the Catholic faith of feeling connected and feeling God's presence, right? Or feeling Christ's presence. And then there would be other times where I didn't. And so my awakening began when my conscious awakening really began when, and I would go, high school, I would go to different events and retreats and I would find a spiritual opening. But my biggest one happened when I had graduated college and I had kind of checked the box, right? Go to college, get a good job, find a place to live, find a partner. It was like, check, 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 check. And I checked off all the boxes and I felt really dissatisfied. I felt really unfulfilled because I felt like somebody lied to me my whole life. I thought that if you just get this, 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 and this, then you live happily ever after, like Cinderella and all is well, right? And it's like, I did all that, but I wasn't living happily ever after. And so even having, I don't even know what's more frustrating, wanting something that you don't have or having something that you thought was going to fulfill you and it didn't, right? So that was like, okay, if this isn't it, what is it? And I remember I was living in Chicago at the time. There was a beautiful Catholic church that was right down the road for me. And I remember waking up on a Sunday morning and deliberately going there to find my juju again, right? To find that connection. And I remember sitting in the pew going, no, this isn't it. I'm not finding it here. And so then that walk back to my house afterwards was like, it's like, God, I thought I'd at least find it there. So that's where the big thirst, the big longing came. And that's what led me to move to California, meet a hairdresser that literally was just so vibrant and so filled with an energy. And I didn't have the language back then, but the energy that was it was beyond bubbly. It was something different. And so as she's cutting my hair, doing my hair, I'm like, all right, what do you do? What do you do? And she said to me something that completely changed my paradigm. She says, I meditate. And I was like, okay, meditate. What reference in my brain do I have for meditation? Oh, some guru guy with a long white beard and in a long robe sitting in some kind of cave or on a mountaintop in a yogi style oming. And it was like, she's some woman from Danville, like San Ramon, California, super hip, had a husband and a dog. And I was like, doesn't compute. And so she shared with me that she does a form of energy work through a meditation and gave me her meditation teacher's number. And it was back in the 90s, early 90s. And I had my big phone as I was walking out the door, those big old bag phones. I remember it was like a brick. And I remember calling Melanie and she never called me back. And I called her again. And finally, I got to her house and it was like angels, statues everywhere and clinky clanky music and, candles everywhere and incense burning. And I was like, this Catholic girl that's open, mind you, is a little freaked out right now. So I remember she invited me into her house. There was no sofa. It was just in the middle of this room and there was like a cushion and she invited me to sit down on this cushion. And I'll never forget, she had this huge fat cat named Steve. And Steve came over, was purring all around me, right? And I was just kind of checking it out and going, what is this, right? And she looked at me and looked deep into my soul like nobody ever has. And she said, you create your own reality. And when she said that, it was like, I do. Yes. Like something in me already knew that, but I never heard that. This is before the internet, this is before The Secret. This is before all of that. And part of me just went, yes, I know that. But then the human part of me that didn't know that went, how? Right? And so that's where she said, you're either attracting or repelling things from you based on the way you think. Now, David, this is another paradigm moment shift where I'm like, the way I think, I thought my thoughts were real. I thought what my thoughts were telling me was everything. And so she could see that I was like, my thoughts, right? And she goes, okay, I can see where we need to begin with you. I want you to go home, come back in a week, and all I want you to do for the next week is I want you to pay attention to your thoughts. And it wasn't even a half an hour after I got home, I was walking by a mirror that I had in my room, and I heard about 10 thoughts that were very negative. My hair was this, my body was this, my this was that. The thoughts were negative, critical. And I was like, who is saying that? Where is that coming from, right? It was the first time to actually pay attention to what you say to yourself, and it's negative like that. It was like, wow, no wonder, no matter what I accomplished, no matter what I did, no matter who I had in my life, if I'm negative in my head about me, to me, even boxing with God, right? It's not enough, where's mine? That kind of stuff. How could I ever be truly happy? So that's where I went on a quest to start meditating, to calm my mind, to hear my thoughts, to be able to find a better feeling thought, to change from a lack perspective into an abundance mentality.
Amazing. So many of us, our awakening comes in the midst of very painful experiences, right? And I know that you've gone through several painful experiences in life. How did those events shape you, open your eyes, open your heart, close your heart? Like, how did those impact you?
Well, the first really big one, and I had obviously through my childhood, but the first one that really shook me to my foundation was when my sister committed suicide. And I'm grateful that I had training, meditation. I was already starting my spiritual work when that happened, because that helped me be very present and very real with my emotions. And it let me really process everything I was feeling in the grieving place, right? But through grief, and it's interesting, through her being on the other side, I was open to receiving messages from her, and did constantly, like crazy things that, I'd be listening to the radio, going to work out at 6 a.m, and I would hear 3 songs in a row that were of different genres, that were all songs that reminded me of her. And it's like, gosh, no DJ in their right mind would ever play these 3 songs. Like, one was country, one was pop, one was disco. It was like, what station does that, right? And I heard that same 3 songs, same 3 songs, at least 5 different times in different places. And, so it's like, okay, clearly, right? So that helped connect me at a deeper level, because I felt like for the first time, I didn't really lose my sister. I remember one night in particular, I was telling my husband at the time, I said, I just miss talking to her. That's what I miss. I miss our sister conversations where she would call me on the phone and we would literally be on the phone for hours just talking about whatever. That night I went to bed and I had a dream that we were talking on the phone for hours. And I woke up just feeling so fulfilled. Like, there's nothing to miss. It's all here. So,
Beautiful, beautiful.
For me, I'm grateful that I know what I know, and that I was hungry when I did, because another time for me, I have 2 sons, they're 15 and a half and 14, and they're 16 months apart. And when one of them was, he was, 18 months old, and the other one was 2 months old. We took him to a regular checkup, and the doctor looked at my older son, gave him a little car to play with, and said, top notch, everything looks good, and took one look at my baby that was 2 months of age and said, go to the hospital immediately. Don't take him home, go immediately. And we got there, and a team of doctors and nurses were just on him, PICC lines and oxygen masks, and we were like, what is happening? And it turns out that he had a transposition of the great arteries, so basically he wasn't hooked up correctly. And usually babies that have this, 85% of them are found in vitro, so that when the mom gives birth, the child has heart surgery right away within the first day of life. If they don't find that inside, they usually detect it with the other cases, so then the baby would have like a day or 2 and then would go into surgery. My son was 2 months old. And usually if they don't detect it within a week, the babies die. He was 2 months of age. And so he had a couple of holes in his heart and valves that were keeping him alive all that time. So the minute we heard the diagnosis and what needed to happen, that he needed to have heart surgery as a 2-month-old baby, right? I turned to my husband and I said, okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. We got to hold the vision. What vision do we want? We cannot be in the who's to blame and why didn't they catch it and, who we angry at. Cannot go there. We need to focus on what we want and what the vision is. And so the vision became between my husband and I. He's home, he's healthy, he's growing up. We take a Disneyland trip, we go camping, we see him playing sports, we see him thriving, we see him growing up and getting married and, all the stuff. So we were constantly talking about the positive aspects of this and all the support that we had. We talked about everything that would birth out of this from a good place. And it did. And it turned out. And he literally is a miracle. And he's a credible kid, straight A student. He's a rock star on his soccer team, so much so he's going to France for the, in the summer to play. I mean, he's just amazing. And so all of that was such a trauma. But during that trauma, I processed my emotions. I did what I teach, right? I focused on the vision, what I want. When things weren't going well or we had bad news or it was rocky or something like that, I continued to focus on my faith and, speaking to God and focusing on what I wanted and feeling the vibration of compassion. And it's everything I teach. So all of these traumas, all these times, whether it's you're in debt, you're going through a divorce, been there, done that, both of those. You lost a job, been there, done that. I mean, whatever it is, these are moments to push a reset button, to literally say to yourself, okay, what do I want? Why do I want it? And how do I want to feel? Because ultimately the feeling is the vibration. It's the thing that we want anyway. So cut out the middleman and just go direct and feel the feeling.
Yeah, amazing. Talk to me about the Quantum Council of Light. When did they come to you? How did you start working with them?
Well, it was about 5 years after my meditation practice started. And I was meditating at night, and I remember seeing a vision of a book, and I hadn't written a book at that point. And so I went to bed, and that night at 1:05 in the morning, I started hearing voices outside of me giving me advice. And it's like, this really isn't convenient. I'm sleeping right now, right? Because you wait until the morning, but it kept going. And so I got up and I went into my office. I took pen to paper, was writing down what I was hearing because it was like every word, every sentence was just being given to me. So I just started writing what I was hearing, and then my hand started going automatic. It was like just automatic writing. One hand was turning the page while the other one was going, and it just kept going like that. And for 7 days in a row, that happened at 1:05 in the morning. And so after the 7th day, I said, okay, I think I'm writing a book, right? And I just followed the steps, the guidance of who I needed to call, what I needed to do. So I got my book published. It was an incredible day to open the mail and have my book in my hands. And then I thought, well, okay, my mom and my dad and my friends, they were not the target market for this book. So I started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches. And as I was speaking and taking people through meditations, I was getting guidance and seeing pictures of what I needed to guide them through. So it was like something was feeding me what I needed to communicate to the person. And that kind of started it. And then I kept leaning into that, and it kept building, right? So I started coaching. I became a coach. They were fully coming through in my coaching through energy work that I was doing. And it worked so much so that I had to declare, I came out of the closet as an energy healer. That was a really big deal about 10 years ago. Nobody else was coming out of the closet like that. It's like, I'm not just a coach, I'm an energy healer too. Ooh, what does that mean, right? And I keep saying to the council, I'm like, just when people think I'm a freak, because nobody, like back when I became a coach, you know that Barbara Mandrell song, I was country before country was cool. I was coaching before coaching was cool. People are like, what are you doing? What? That doesn't even make sense, right? So then coaching becomes mainstream, and now I'm an energy healer, right? So now energy healing is mainstream. Now I'm a channeler. So, Yeah, so they, on a group call, I'll never forget, they just started getting louder and louder and louder and more present and that sort of thing. So one day I was driving in my car and all of a sudden I saw this vision of this council. And it was like, I had to pull over because it was just profound. And I could feel the resonance with them. And then I heard them say, start Sacred Circle of Light. Okay, what's that? Right? And they were very particular. Started a Zoom call every week. Get together a bunch of people. It'll be a year program, and you do healing sessions on them. Life happens, help them clear their stuff. Great, I could do that. Offered it to my community. I had about 7 people that joined. And during one of the calls, all of a sudden, instead of hearing them super clear like I normally do, it was like a bunch of them were talking to me. It's kind of like when my kids are and my husband, everybody's talking to me at once. I'm like, I can't hear. That was that feeling. And my consciousness kind of went over the chair when they came through, and then they started communicating some pretty profound lessons, and I could hear them. And then they left, I came back in, and everybody was like, oh my God, like what just happened, right? And I figured, okay, if it happened once, let me see if it'll happen again. And they came through again. And after every time I'm asking them to come in, they would come in. I pivoted my entire business from coaching to channeling into healing.
Wow. You host these healing experiences, these events online. If somebody attends one of those, what would they expect? What would they experience?
To feel lighter. That's the thing that I hear a lot, because it doesn't matter if you're wanting to heal something in your body, your finances, a relationship, you're wanting to attract a partner to you, whatever it is you're wanting. When you leave these experiences, first of all, the energy is so high that just being in the configuration, you feel good. But there's stuff that releases, energy releases, blocks release, and then you feel lighter. You end up feeling more hopeful. You end up feeling more like I can trust this. I have faith again. It's like a renewed sense of like a reset button of, okay, here we go, right? So that's usually what people report. I always hear, I just feel so much lighter.
Yeah. Are you leading people through a meditation and then you're channeling, or what does it feel like? What do people experience practically?
Well, it's different every time, because the council could come in and talk, and they have their wisdom, that their advice that they share. A lot of times it will be a process. What people love about them is they're not interested in talking about Akashic records and all that's great, right? They're interested in helping us master our energy. So they'll show us processes. They'll bring in concepts that help to, concepts that people probably have heard many times or for decades, but they help take that concept and embody it, because that's the key to it, right? It's knowing and being aware of something is one thing, but really understanding it and having a knowing of it, embodying it, that's something different. So they take very esoteric conversations and principles, even like universal laws, and help make it very grounding, very, very solidified, very practical, very dated. Oh, I could use this in my day-to-day life kind of thing. Yeah.
Is that something you would be willing to do with us now? Like, would they be able to,
of course,
like connect with me? I've watched a couple of videos of you channeling, but like, would I ask you a question, or would you just like, nope, here's the message. Like, the message is coming today.
Like, they'll come in and they'll just connect with you. And if they have a particular message, they'll share it. If you want to ask them questions, you can just ask them questions. It's really what comes up in the moment, and what people, especially like when we go into a configuration, what everybody else's intentions have been, they'll come right in and just, and it's like, wow, I had that question and now I know the answer to it, and then the solution to it as well. So that's kind of the fun part of it, is we never know exactly what's gonna be happening, but it's always gonna be very powerful and positive.
How many years have you been doing this?
I've been a coach for 25 years. I've been doing my own personal work for over 30. I've been channeling officially this way, the council, since 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Amazing.
Yeah.
And you asked them, you saw this picture of a council. Did you ask them? I'm always curious, with these names, Quantum Council of Light. Did you ask them? Did they tell you? Did you reach out to a branding consultant on that name, or?
No, they told me, because I was feeling them as a they, and I could feel that there were many of them. It wasn't just one guide, that you'd call like Oren, right? Or one guide you'd call Abraham, or, it didn't have a singular name. It was a collection, even though Abraham is a collection. They wanted to be called the council. That was the name that they came through. It was like, we're the council. And then it's like, okay, you're the council. Council of what? We are the Quantum Council of Light. I like to say their official name, their full name, their legal name, their birth name is the Divine Quantum Council of Light.
Well, it's a good thing the URL was available, christyandthecouncil.com. That's good. If it wasn't, you could have gone Christy and the Divine Quantum Council of Light.
Right, that's a long one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I would be honored. Yeah.
I'll bring him in.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We are here. Hello, Delight. Thank you for inviting us on your interview. We like to be interviewed too. We are happy to be here in service of whatever ails you or whatever you're curious about. We are here, as Christy said, to help all of you be able to understand that everything is energy. Even a thought, even a belief, even a state of being is energy. And when you understand that it's energy and that you are the energy master, that energy yields to you, you can then bring forth the energy that you desire to. Good. What would you like to know?
So one of the things that, at least here in the United States, that it seems like a lot of the news and people are concerned about, like the massive transitions that are happening. And while I don't seem to feel that myself, a sense of anxiety, I see that culture wide. How would someone, no matter what their political affiliation is, how would you encourage them to navigate these massive transitions that perhaps they might be feeling?
Well, let's just talk about what transition is, because like we like to say, you're always in a transition. You're in transition here to here. That was a transition. There's bigger transitions when you have a change of guards, for example, within the presidency within the United States, or maybe you're moving from one place to another, or maybe you're starting a new job, or you're starting a new relationship, or you're getting out of a relationship. Your children could be moving on in life. Everything is a transition. Nothing stays the same. And when you can understand that everything is fluid, and energy is always moving, it's in a flow pattern. When you can understand that, then you can hook up to it and not feel scared of it. But what you're describing is that the human part that doesn't know and that is unaware of what something will look like, if someone doesn't understand something, and they spot, I don't get it, I don't understand, what am I to do? You're in your mental body and you're not in your full body. You're not in your faith portal and really connected to your soul. So when someone is feeling anxiety is, it's not even an emotion. Anxiety is a disease state, because you have a pill that you can throw at that, just like depression on the other end. So depression and anxiety are not actually an emotion. Anxiety is a suppression of the emotion of fear and worry. And if it's not dealt with, it grows and grows and grows and continues to get bigger and bigger until you feel anxious, until you feel the panic, right? It's your state of being getting to an extreme. Like on the other end, if you're sad and hurt and you are not processing the emotions, not processing the feelings, and you're just staying in the sad and the hurt, that's when it can become depression, where you feel depressed. So on two very different sides of the spectrum, all of it is about having emotional intelligence is really what we're talking about, is being aware that I am very anxious right now. And so underneath the anxiety, that's fear. And underneath the fear is coming from lack. Because remember, as Christy started talking with you today, she was talking about the three different aspects of being. When someone is in fear, or they're feeling anxious, or they're restless, or any of that, when they're in the space of I don't know, they naturally will go to fear. But you have a choice in that. I don't know, but I trust all will be well. I may not know how, but the divine knows, my soul knows how, the universe knows how. I don't know how he'll do as president, or what this will be like, or what this reform will be. I don't know the consequences of all this. You can let yourself feel that compassion for not knowing. And because you're in a transition, and you always are in a transition, the transition energy that you bring with you, for example, the compassion in the transition will lead to a better transition. If you're screaming and pushing away and fighting the whole time through the transition, then on the other end of the transition is more strife, is more struggle. So it's important to remember to come back to this now, right here moment, where everything is moving and you are in transition, but all presence is here in the now. And when you can start to feel the presence of peace and calm and compassion as a state of being, as a frequency, as an energy, now you can ride the waves of the transition in a way that makes the journey more fun.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you. Yeah. I have had some experiences myself with channeling where I have had messages come through both on plant medicine and not on plant medicine. And so I'm curious what you would say in terms of how I could be a more clear channel, more open to receiving these messages myself.
Well, let us first say that all of you have the potential to be channelers. All of you have the ability to hear clear guidance, because that's really what we're talking about, is that whether you're channeling for yourself so that you have guidance on, do I go here or go there, or do I do this or I do that? What way do I feel led? Do I do this or do I do that? Wherever you're led to go in any aspect of your life, that feels good. To know that something bigger, greater is with you and looking after you. Well, that's true for all of you. How you all become more receptive is to really understand that you are all energy receivers. You're all energy containers, and you're all energy transmitters. You're constantly transmitting energy. So if you are an energy receiver, like you are, if you are attuning to the higher forces of reality, the greater perspective, the higher will or the higher mind, and you are opening up and you're receiving that in and you're holding that, then what you're going to give out is of that same frequency. To make yourself a more open channel just means to let go of the things that block your channel. So think of it like a pipe, right? You got your sink. If the sink is all stuffed up and stuff's not going down, it won't flow. But the minute you roto-rooter it or call the pipe guy, the plumbing guy, and it gets all clear, right? Now you've got the flow again. So what we're talking about is divine flow. And so any part of you in any of your patternings, your worries, your fears, the places where you are in lack, as you release your lack perspective, now you're all human, so you're going to have moments where you swing through and visit Fear Town for a minute. But if you deliberately allow yourself to feel the compassion for the fear and understand where the fear is coming from, that it's coming from, I'm thinking there's not enough. It's from lack, but there always is enough. This is an abundant universe. I am abundant. Now you're fine-tuning yourself. You're letting go of the static on the radio and coming back so that you're receiving more of a clear signal.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing messages with us today. Thank you so much.
It is our great pleasure to be here with all of you, and we are surrounding all of you in light, and we will remind each of you that you are infinitely loved. Be well. Allow yourself to receive a beautiful just downpouring of light. Just feel as if you're under a shower head of light and you're just being doused, or under a waterfall of light. Just imagining that you're just being filled. Every single cell in your body is just filling up with light. How'd they do?
Amazing. Talk to me about the experience of channeling. Obviously, it's different now than it probably was 7-8 years ago, because things have kind of morphed and changed for you. What was interesting for me is you kept your eyes open for most of that time. Your eyes were open. So what's your level of consciousness of what the council is saying versus your presence?
I have no consciousness of when I go out, they come in and it's like full on now. The very first time I could hear them and I could hear what they were saying and I was aware of what was happening. Now it's like I'm fully asleep. But the experience is like this. If you were going to say, the council talked about that process or this thing or that example, it's almost like when you wake up in the middle of in the morning and you're like, I think I had a dream. So it feels like my brain and the awareness that there's something, but I don't know all the details. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's kind of like dissecting a dream. Okay, there was a person there, and I don't know, but the rest of the details are foggy.
Yeah. I want to pivot for just a moment and talk about one of your books, The 7 Essential Laws. The subtitle is The Keys to Create Anything by Using the Laws of the Universe. And I know that The Secret introduced millions of people to the law of attraction, but you are outlining multiple other laws, 7 other laws in your book. Would you mind just real briefly going through those and helping introduce us to that? And I hope then people would, of course, pick up your book. We'll link to that in our show notes. But
Perfect.
The first one is maybe just remind us, for those maybe who are a little new to it, how would you define the law of attraction?
The law of attraction to me is like we were talking about, right? We're an energy receiver. The council said that. See? Council said it. So we're an energy receiver, we're an energy container, we're an energy transmitter. What we transmit out, we are going to collect back. We're going to attract to us. What we send out comes back to us. So I always like to think of law of attraction like a boomerang. What we send out, it comes back. So a thought, if it's a positive thought, something, it's not a tit for tat. If someone cuts you off in traffic, and flips you off, right? And it's not like, all of a sudden that person's going to get flipped off in traffic. It's not tit for tat like that, but it's the energy. Right. What you give out comes back. So that's basic law of attraction for me.
Okay.
And I love that you're asking this question, because here's the thing, is knowing the 7 essential laws for me was like knowing the rules of the game. Because it's like, if you've never seen baseball before, you've never seen the game of baseball, and your friend says, hey, we're going to go play a game, right? And he tells you, okay, take the bat, and this guy's going to throw it to you, and once you hit it, then you're going to run, right? He's not giving you all the details, but you hit the ball, and then you see run to a base, and you run to third base. You're going to be out, right? Oh, you're out. You're supposed to go it's better to know, you got to go first, second, third, home, right? Know the rules of the game. And so these are the rules of the game, because most people think law of attraction is that important law to understand and practice and know and apply. It's not. It's the law of sufficiency and abundance that we've been talking about. So the first law is the law of attraction. Second law is the law of deliberate creation, meaning that everything is created. What I send out, it comes back, right? If I deliberately start thinking positive or change my vibration, if I stop being in fear and being compassion instead, now I am deliberately choosing my thoughts, my words, whatever is going on, right? I can then choose deliberately and then affect my point of attraction because of that. So that's the law of deliberate creation. Basically, what you focus on, it comes, and what you focus on deliberately, you don't have to just do it by default, right? Then you attract that. So the third law is the law of allowing. And that is really the law of least resistance. Any place that we're feeling that fight, that resistance, we're not in a space of allowing. And if we want to receive, right? If someone's going to give you a gift, right? You're not going to go put it in your hands up and, right? You're going to open your hands. So it's like you receive, like a breath, right? So that's allowing. The fourth law, which is the law we've been talking about, is the law of sufficiency and abundance. Basically, the universe is abundant. We are divinely designed for abundance. And the key to aligning with abundance is through sufficiency. It's not just the law of abundance. It's the law of sufficiency and abundance. So that's why we want to get out of any place of feeling negative with allowing ourselves to feel the neutrality of compassion, so that we can find that satisfaction. We can find that place of, it's sufficient. It's not everything I want more, but it's okay for now, right? Because then that opens the doorway. Because the fifth law is the law of pure potentiality, which everything that you can think of, conceive of, has the potential to become something. Pure positive energy seeking to express itself into some type of form. So the divine loves forms, and it loves to move through forms, and everything that is formed, it has energy. Everything is energy. So we get to take the pure potentiality of something that we think about, would love to experience, and bring it into form just by noting that there is pure potential for this thing to manifest. Person, place, or thing, right? Where are we at? The sixth law. The sixth law is the law of detachment. And this is an important law too, because if, like the law of allowing, if we want something, we want to be attached to it. Like my example is, when I was single and I was out of my first marriage, I was very clear on the kind of person I wanted to be with. And I was very, very clear that I wanted to be in a relationship, and an intimate relationship, right? That was my absolute vision. That was my goal, because I enjoy being in a relationship. I want to create a history with someone, that connection. And so I was attached to having a relationship. But the who, the where, the when, the how, all of that is what I needed to detach from, so that I can let the universe bring me the right person at the right time and in the right way that'll be spectacular. So focus on what you want, but the details, the who, the where, the why, the how, all of that stuff, let yourself be in a state of peace, openness, receptivity while you think of that person, place, or thing. Because anytime we're attached to something and we feel anxious, we're suppressing the entire flow of the universe. So the last and final law is the law of polarity. This is a big one, because here on planet Earth, right, everything has two sides: up, down, in, out, left, right, good, bad, two sides of a coin. So the good news is that your first question today, if someone finds themselves in lack, when you know that there's a law of polarity, that if lack exists, that means that there's a polar opposite that also exists right here in the same moment. So if there's a thought of lack, a thought of abundance exists. If there is a debt, the opposite is true. There's a bank account that has lots of money in it, right? So it's a polar opposite. And so when you're focused on what you don't want, asking yourself, what do I want? Why do I want it? And how do I want to feel? Will shift you off of the contrast, off of the polarity side that you don't want, and into the side of the polarity that you do want. So there's always an opposite.
You have a bonus law, the law of
Reflection.
okay. Tell me about this.
Yeah, it's like it's some people would say the law of reflection is a lot like a law of attraction, but it's like what I see in you, what behavior you are showing me right now is reflecting where I am. And one time, I really worked this. I remember being my last corporate job. I was a biotech sales manager, sales training manager. And I had a boss named, we called him Eagle because he was always like, always on top of us and looking at stuff. So he was very critical. And I remember going home and being like, why is he so critical of me? What is going on? Why is he so critical? And, just in that, why do I have to deal with this? And this guy, da, da, da. And I realized, okay, he is being critical. He's a reflection of me. So where am I being critical of myself? And as soon as I shifted that and started bringing in self-love and kindness and compassion, he stopped criticizing me. So did my own mother, who is very, very critical. So if I could shift Eagle and I could shift my mom by shifting myself, that's the law of reflection at work.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know you have a new book coming out. And by the way, we will obviously put in the show notes links to the 7 Essential Laws. So encourage people to pick that up. But you have a new book coming out in 2025 called The Flow Factor, A Complete Guide to Energy Mastery. How is this book unique from your other books and why should people pick it up?
Well, they all kind of help you grow and understand the depth of energy and master, manifestation and all that. The flow factor is really an understanding of who we are as a human being and that our natural reaction, because we're part animal, we're animals, like our natural and animalistic reaction is fight, flight, freeze, fawn, it's just in us, it's ingrained in us. And the more that we have done something like resist or fight, right, with a thought, a perspective, an idea of something, the more that creates a pattern. But the good news is that there's another option. We don't have to be in just like freeze mode or like, spinning so much that we're like afraid to silence be in silence. So we're doing, moving faster, getting overwhelmed, right? There's that. Or there's just resisting everything. Flow is a higher state. And when we're in flow, we let go of that human part of us that keeps us stuck there and brings us to that partnership with our soul, with our divine self, where flow energy exists. So it gets us out of that very limited view and what we can pull from as far as what to do about this situation, or what's the solution for this, or how do I get out of that, by coming back to a state of flow.
And when can we expect to have this in our hands?
September 23rd.
All right, 2025.
Yes.
All right, good. If somebody is feeling called to these principles, like maybe they've been following your work or other people's work and integrating these principles into their own life, but they're wanting to begin to kind of shift to offer them to others, to coach others in this world. I know you have the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. Why would that be a good choice for them? What does it involve? Tell us all about it.
I love it. Love this question. So yes, I created the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. I was a coach. I was a law of attraction coach. I was never called a life coach. I always specialized in law of attraction, universal laws. And people saw what they were getting from me when they coached with me. And they were like, I want to do this for other people. I feel like I want to do what you do. And so within a week, I had 5 different people from all walks of life come to me and go, I want you to certify me. And I'm like, I don't do that. You can go where I was. And they don't do that anymore. But, at the time they did. I don't do that. And so they were like insistent. Oh, I want you to certify me. I want you to teach me what you do. And so I literally just sat with this surround sound effect, right? The surround sound asking. And I said to the divine, okay, if I'm going to create a course, what would it be? And again, pen went to paper and it became, here's the modules, here's the information, here's the books that you need to read, here's everything, required reading. the whole just came out. And I launched it in the fall of 2008 and had 50 students, and all 50 of their lives were changed. I had people that had followed Abraham Hicks, for example, and I am a student of Abraham Hicks, but followed them for decades, came into the coaching academy, started studying the 7 essential laws that we talked about and the processes to apply them, and their lives started changing. They started understanding it at a much deeper, practical level. So not only will you go through a coaching academy where you can coach people into understanding how to really create transformation for them, and what to do, and the structure of calls and the processes to do, like everything you need to do when you're sitting with someone. But for yourself, you're getting a knowledge base and understanding, just an awareness that it's like a birthing, because now you understand the rules of the game and how to play it. So it's a really empowering process, and it's the most, comprehensive coach training out there. And we specialize in law of attraction and universal laws. So it's very, very powerful.
What's the URL for people to find more information about this?
You can go just Google Quantum Success Coaching Academy, and you'll see lots of things popping up.
Good.
Yeah.
And you have a free 30-day manifestation program at watchyourwords.com. What a great URL that is. That's as good as ChristyandtheCouncil.com. What is the 30-day manifestation program all about? Who would that benefit?
Well, it benefits all of us, and I'll tell you why. For years, and when I was launching my book, Quantum Success, which is all about the 7 essential laws towards work and business, I would have people, through radio, TV, like announcers and hosts would ask me, okay, you got these esoteric universal laws. Like, how do we apply this, right? And the first thing I kept popping out of my mouth was, well, you have to watch your words. Because when you think about it, we create from our consciousness. And what is our consciousness? It's the words that we think, the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we either feel or don't feel, right? The perspectives, beliefs that we have, and the actions that we take. So what starts all of it is what we say, is the words. It said in the Bible, in the beginning, there was the word, right? And words have power. So what I did is I took these 30 phrases, words and phrases that we all say in our language, and I created a video of what not to say, why, and what to say instead. So
give me an example of one of those phrases.
Perfect. So one of the phrases, I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Right? So we don't want to say that, because anytime we say can't, we're closing down our vibration, and that's it. I had a client one time, called me up. She was so upset. And what's wrong? And she goes, my friend just offered me a full paid vacation to Hawaii, to Maui. And all I have to do is fly there, but I can't afford it. And I said, well, can we change the language on this? Because you're closing yourself off. Well, I don't have the money. I can't afford it. Let's just change the language on it. Would you want to go? Well, of course I would, but I can't afford it. Stop that part. Would you want to go? Yes, I would love to go. Okay, well then tell yourself it's not a financial priority. Feel how that feels differently. I want to do that. It's not a financial priority because I got to pay my mortgage this month, right? You're not saying I can't do it. You're saying I'd love to do it. Yes, it's a yes for me. So, okay, all right, I'll do that. She called me back about 2 hours later. It was like, you're never going to believe this. My friend just called me up and said she had a plane ticket that she can transfer to me, and I can go. So everything's now paid. And I said, wow, you really can't afford it. Right? So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, these words and phrases that are in our just common language that we all say. Just another one is miss. Oh, I miss you. Right? And this one hit me during COVID when everyone's in lockdown, because I was hearing everybody and their brother say, oh, I miss, I miss seeing I miss going here, I miss doing that. Every time we focus on miss, we're in lack. We don't have something. So I remember saying to my husband, I miss going out to dinner with you. I miss going on a date. I went, wait a minute. No, that's one of the words I'm not supposed to say. I appreciate going to dinner with you. I appreciate having a date with you. And he goes, let's go. I'm like, where? And he goes, let's go outside on the park bench. Let's go have a date. So we went out on the park bench. It was just the two of us, no dog, no kids. And we sat there and talked. And I said, you know what? Someday the restaurants are going to open. Where would we want to go? If we're going to go to a restaurant, what restaurant of all the beautiful restaurants in Scottsdale, Arizona, what restaurant would we want to go to? So we started talking about the restaurant. And then we thought, you know what? Not just the two of us, we've seen a lot of each other. What about our other couple friends, right? Who would we want to go with? So we started naming off, who we'd want to go with. And I'm like, I have to go. And he's like, what? I go, I have to go pick up my outfit. Because we're going to go on a date with that couple and I'm going to go to this restaurant and I want to pick up my outfit. So now it's like the energy of what you're creating, instead of me going, I miss going to dinner. I miss, when's this going to end? I miss it, right? It's a very different energy.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Watchyourwords.com. And for more information about all the things that you offer, ChristyandtheCouncil.com, Instagram, Christy Whitman Official, any other social media. I will link to them all, but any in particular you want to point out here?
You got it. So Christy Whitman Official on Instagram and TikTok. I'm the Christy Whitman. So I have lots of different videos on different subjects that are just quick little minutes to kind of rev up your energy.
Love that. We'll put all the links in our show notes. Christy, thank you for just your energy, your wisdom, your vibration, all of it. It just feels great to be with you.
Thank you, David.
And I appreciate all that you're doing in the world. I really do. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.